Welcome to the Fearful Fright series, where we will be reading with our favorite green ghoul, Grimmer. Now sit back and enjoy this twisted tale. Today our story is called Goblin Blood. In a small village somewhere in Russia, two boys were playing in the woods. As they did, one of them fell through a cavern. The one that did began to look around. He noticed bones everywhere, and laying in the middle of this cavern was a large 9-foot skeleton with an odd-shaped skull. Soon the two boys told their parents, and the two boys' parents told the proper authorities. The very next day the entire village was flooded with military vehicles and soldiers everywhere. Nobody knew what was so important, but a military helicopter lifted the large skeleton with the odd-shaped skull out of the cavern and flew off with it. The Russian military brought it to a secret military base and had their top scientists examine the specimen. Soon the scientists realized what they were looking at. One of the scientists got on the phone and said, "Yes, Mr. President, we finally have it. We will grab samples and start the cloning process immediately," he went on. "Good. Make it quick," the president said. "Yes sir, Mr. President," the scientist said, then he hung up. For the next 4 months the entire military base was full of soldiers and tanks, and even state-of-the-art military drones. The scientist eventually created a small specimen out of the DNA samples. "Yes, it's a success. We finally have a living specimen. A living goblin. Now we can start the extraction process. If we want to make super soldiers of our own, we'll need to take blood samples and see how it reacts with our human blood." As they began running tests, they could notice that the goblin blood's reaction to the human blood was unsettling. The goblin blood not only fused with the human blood, it completely consumed it altogether. "Should we go further with the test?" one of the scientists said. The lead scientist responded with, "Yes, we must. The president is counting on us. And all of Russia as well." "All right," the other scientist said. "Then it's agreed. Let's bring our first test subject in." The first subject was a man named Sasha Vongernov. A blonde hair, blue-eye man. He was about the size of your average soldier. "Nothing special really. Come in and have a seat," one of the scientists said. "We will be running blood samples on you today. Nothing out of the ordinary. We are just checking to see which men are more susceptible to certain illnesses." "Okay," Sasha said. "Sounds good. All right, let's get started," said the lead scientist. They hooked Sasha up to a machine to draw and transfer blood. As they did, Sasha started to notice the green blood beginning to enter his veins. "Hey, what's that stuff, doc?" Then all of a sudden the man got silent. Eyes as wide as can be. Then out of nowhere, Sasha started shaking violently. "What's going on?" one of the scientists asked. "I don't know," said the lead scientist, "but take notes." Sasha was shaking so hard at this point that he almost broke out of the restraints they had put him in earlier before the test. Then he just stopped. As the scientist looked on in amazement and curiosity, they could see Sasha's skin and hair beginning to fall off the man's body. "What a strange reaction," one of the scientists said while taking notes. "I believe the metamorphosis process has begun," said the lead scientist with a smile on his face. As the blood cleared you could see Sasha was no longer a man. He was now a creature. A goblin. And all the thing could do was laugh. Not saying one word, not even pausing for a breath. It was just sitting there, laughing maniacally. The lead scientist and another scientist then walked to a nearby glass room that was attached to the lab. "Release the restraints," the lead scientist said. "Are you sure?" the other scientists in the room asked. The lead scientist responded, "You have your orders." When they did, this now creature proceeded to attack the scientists that were left in the room. One of the scientists pulled out a gun that had been laying on the table and began firing at the creature. The goblin just looked at the scientist and laughed even harder. As the goblin finished taking large chunks out of each one of the scientists' necks, killing them, He walked towards the scientist that shot at him, laughing maniacally. Then the goblin lunged at the scientist, completely ripping him apart, piece by piece, tearing off his lips, pulling out his eyes, proceeding to bite and pull everything off of the scientist's body, including parts I won't mention here. Then the lead scientist pressed the button on the wall. The room the now dead scientists were in began filling with gas. Slowly the creature fell asleep. As the lead scientist returned to the room that now resembled a horror scene, with the floor covered in blood, he dragged the creature into a nearby cell, locking the creature in. Then the lead scientist casually walked over to the phone and dialed a number. He waited for a few seconds and said, "Hello, Mr. President. We've just completed the super soldier serum. Goblin blood is ready for military use." "Excellent," the president responded. "We will begin having all of the soldiers equipped with this new weapon.